All right. Do you think you'll speak to me tonight? I've offended John by existing.
I'm not talking to this person any longer.
This is a surprise to me. I mean, literally in the last 30 seconds, this happened. Because right before we started, he was talking to me, and now he's not. I'm not sure why. But I'm sure that I've done something horrendous and vile.
Yep. I'm sure you have.
Hi, Byron.
Hello, I'm already here, he says. Hello. I'm already here, too.
Jesus, John.
What? Yeah? Can I help you?
What's up? What are you doing?
I'm
Why?
just hanging out, drinking a chai latte. Ariel's right behind you. It's actually, instead of being between us, she's directly right there, and it's kind of creepy. She's gonna smash her head. So. No, so I was thinking tonight would be a good night to continue a topic, a long-standing topic.
Okay.
A constant topic. Suicide.
Oh, that's right.
Because it hit hard. A lot of people today, a lot of people, the kind of impact that this one had was much more widespread than I expected.
Yeah.
I'm not really much of a Linkin Park person. I just never, but you know, like whatever. It's they're just a band that does their thing, and you know they have a lot of fans. It's awesome. And so when it hit today, like I saw a lot more people than I ever expected. You know, really pronounce what impact this person had in their life. It was huge, huge spread. Byron and Rick here. How's it going, guys?
Hi.
And just really, I mean, you know, today was Chris Cornell's birthday. I know.
Really?
Yeah, and the two are friends, and I don't know if there's a correlation or happenstance or whatever, but like, it's still such a powerful thing that constantly needs to be addressed, and something that I see online a lot during these kinds of conversations is, you know, is it or is it not selfish? And that's a very big question to ask. That's a huge question, because I mean, largely, you know, I'm sure it depends on who you are and how you interpret it, but
well, is it generalizable?
Yeah, can it be a blanket statement? I don't think most things can be, other than don't hurt people. But even that comes down to, do you hurt somebody to save somebody else? Like, there's always implications of, you know, condition. But yeah, with this specifically, like it really it hurt a lot of people, and I know a lot of people who were really impacted by this. And they didn't just cite that, you know, oh, I liked his music, you know, I grew up with his songs. They cited he saved me. He was there. Linkin Park was what I listened to. Chet Bennington was who I turned to when I was struggling. Because a lot of people that I know that I associate with are also sort of a slightly younger persuasion. Maybe it's just that like I didn't grow up with this as like a prime music directive. So people that I know that are a little bit younger, that I'm aware of, are more into it, and so like it really helped a lot of people through, you know. Maybe even elementary school, middle school, high school. I know a lot of high schoolers especially. I was in college by the time I really knew much about them, and so I didn't really resonate. But he stood for a lot of people, and I think it's probably, I don't know, very difficult to see somebody that stood by you musically for years and years and years have nothing that they could stand by and end it like this.
Family.
You know, really, really big, really powerful, really like, it's not an easy thing to address.
What are you thinking and feeling about it?
I'm feeling extra upset because it hurts me to feel that somebody could be at a place that I simply cannot understand or relate to in order to follow through with that. I have not been to that level. I have not understood those battles, you know, or waded through that fire to feel what he must have felt for whatever reason, however it came about, whether it was through, you know, misprescribed medicines or mental health issues, or I have no idea what went into it for this person. No clue. And I feel almost helpless being that I feel it's impossible for me to relate to what it was like to lead up to that. And that's scary for me because I want to help and I want to be there, but because I can't relate on that level, I wonder if I'm not good enough to help somebody who needs it. Because I don't know what it entails. I don't know that pain. And that scares me. It scares me to think that love might not be enough. You know, that the love that I have cannot empathize enough to help somebody. That's my fear. And so seeing this today scares me.
This hit you hard.
Surprisingly, reading and watching people's reactions and seeing how it affected people, seeing pictures posted, seeing lyrics posted, made me tear up for a band that I don't care about. You know, I don't want to say I don't care about them, but like a band that I had never resonated with me. For a band that I never, you know, listened to much, seeing the impact that this had hit me so much harder than I thought because I see the effect that it had. I see how many people are affected by this. So many more than I would have expected. Like, it was massive. You know, when Chris Cornell died, I know a lot of, you know, Gen Xers of, you know, our era reacted to it, but more people than I've ever seen react to a celebrity death. Maybe besides David Bowie. I mean, David Bowie might have been like the biggest impact. But even this might have been bigger than that, simply because the people I associate with on a general age level, it's a wider spread. You know, and that's interesting to me to see the impact that this had on the community that I associate with.
So the idea that love not being enough.
I fear that, you know, no matter how much I love people and no matter how much I want to give, that I am afraid that might not be enough for somebody. I don't know what his support system was like. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't enough for him. Maybe there wasn't a turning back. You know, maybe it was something that couldn't be helped. I don't know. I never want to think of it like as being like that, but I don't know. You know, if somebody chooses to walk to that edge, is there necessarily something that can lull them back again? I don't know. And I think that's what scares me.
Have you known anyone that was actively suicidal?
Well, I mean, I've known people after the fact, but I don't think there's anybody that I was like remarkably close to during a time that I'm aware of. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There might have been people who just never vocalized it. Okay. That scares me too. I want people to feel like they can't, you know, speak or turn to somebody. Because I think a lot of people do view it as, socially, we push it as like a very selfish thing. You know, you're removing yourself, and it's at the expense of others. People have to feel, people have to pay for it besides you, because you're gone, you're done. And so because of that, I think there's a lot of people almost like reporting abuse that don't want to be a bother. So they don't vocalize themselves. They feel as if their problem is insignificant because it will hurt others around them, and they don't want to be a burden.
This is always a really challenging topic for me because you know that my orientation is to really empower and allow and honor and revere whatever a person might feel or experience or want mm-hmm. or not want. Mm-hmm. And suicide is always one for me that really challenges that, because socially, and I'll admit this, the only reason it challenges it is because socially. If I am left to my own devices mm-hmm. without the social backdrop of what I'm supposed to think and what I'm supposed to feel and how I'm supposed to perceive it, I can't not honor it at the mm-hmm. same time, mm-hmm. you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that someone's, I guess what I'm saying is that I can't sit and say nothing could have been that bad.
Right.
That isn't fair.
Yeah.
And, you know, oh, that was so selfish. I can't look at you and read your mind right now. So applying an assumption like that, I don't feel comfortable doing that in any situation. And suicide, it always feels to me like one that I'm expected to have a judgment about. And I don't. No. So it's always challenging for me, because I'm supposed to say it's selfish and you're not in your right mind, and yeah. those things might be true. Mm-hmm. That might be true, but I don't know that I'm not selfish and not in my right mind 24/7 every day of my life, all the time.
Hmm.
And actions being drastic or not drastic.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle a lot with the suicide topic because I can't judge it. I can't do it.
Yeah. There's no blanket answer to say this is right or wrong. There's no dichotomy. It's simply a spectrum.
It's such an expression of someone's real experience.
Yeah. And I wonder, because a lot of the judgments that I saw today said, I'll never understand because he's selfish, because he left behind 6 children, and he did this, he did that. And I always wonder, because I want to try to understand, did that not occur to him? I'm sure it did. I'm positive. It had to have, at some point been like, what I'm doing, it has to make sense to a degree where I can make this call. Does he feel that he is not going to be good enough for this family, these children, people that will ultimately be better off? And I'm not saying that he's going to be, and so it's a good call to make, but it's hard to see the whole of the sphere because there's just so much unknown that is simply exclusively in this guy's head that he maybe has never expressed and, given to anybody else, and how difficult it was for him to weigh out.
What always makes people uncomfortable, and then we should get to some of these. Always makes people uncomfortable about anything regarding another person is what it makes us look at in our own self.
Right.
So what happens is a challenge of what is the meaning of life to me?
Right.
What is the meaning of suicide to me?
Right.
What is the meaning of give and take and selfish and selfless? What are these meanings and significances to me?
Mm-hmm.
And people are uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable with anything that requires touching something that's raw.
Yeah.
So I think first and foremost, apart from judging it, apart from calling it fair or not fair, or apart from that, what we're all looking at is a mirror to challenge what we believe about life.
Yeah. Everything we see in another person.
And what we believe about pain, and what we believe about hope, and what we believe about power and empowerment and disempowerment. And it's so easy to just say, wrong. What happened over there was wrong.
Right.
What he did over there was wrong. What she did over there was wrong. That's such an easy, hopscotch. There.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like stop and reflect for a second what is the platform off of which you are making that determination or judgment, because you're making some sort of statement about what you believe and what you feel and your relationship with life today, and your relationship with death, and your relationship with free will, and your relationship with responsibility. And just stop a minute before you decide what to think or feel about this other person's huge paramount decision.
Yeah.
And just sit with yourself for a minute with this. Anyway, let's look at some of these.
Yeah, no problem. So Byron pipes in first. I was never a fan of Linkin Park. I actually couldn't stand their music, but from all accounts, he was a great guy. Chester was a great guy, and this is a devastating loss for millions, and it is. It's huge. Rick says, some days were really hard. I'm speaking from experience. Byron wrote the suicide hotline on the cabinet door.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember when he told us this story?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a great. So there are days where it really does feel that big.
Yeah.
That heavy. That too much.
Mm-hmm.
And the Kesha song, no,
No, yeah, that's actually what I was going to show you yesterday, and I'll show it to you after the podcast.
Wasn't able to make it.
I found that out.
Did you figure it out?
I figured it out.
Since I didn't come over.
No, you're fine. I'll show it to you afterwards. Also, very, very powerful stuff. Speaking from, her relationship with Dr. Luke, actually, this is part of it, is there's this whole scandal going on with, the whole thing, right?
Yes.
And she was to the point where she was like, I'm done. I have to, she's over this.
Desperation.
Desperate moment.
Desperate.
And she ended up, finding her own way to come back and decide what she wanted to do with it. I was reading a lot of interviews and stuff, especially after watching this, but it's a song that she wrote sort of in rebuttal to this whole situation.
Really?
Phenomenally powerful.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, we'll watch it after this because it is just outstanding. Like whew. Anyway, let's see. Byron says, I kept John company while you abandoned him, Michelle. It was a video of me getting spooked by a video game, which I do. But no, I didn't hold you accountable for anything yesterday.
You should call Adult Protective Services on me for abandoning your stupid ass.
Yeah, this is the spirit of the show. Is we want to discuss, really dire things and curse at each other.
Yeah, fuck you.
Let's see. And Emily even says, even being together for 21 years, I still try to understand, and it's hard for me. I think it's one of those things that even like as a hardcore empath, you can sort of see somebody's pain, but you can never understand all. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I have not been to that level. I do not know, and I'm scared that sometimes I don't know enough to be able to really be there for somebody in the way that they need. That does terrify me because I don't know.
It's really taboo to say this, but I'm feeling like, why not?
Okay. Let's discuss.
I was having a conversation today before I heard about this with someone about how I want the volition over my own life.
Mm-hmm.
I want the volition over my own death. I want the capacity to decide when and how and why and what manner and all of those. I was having that conversation today that it's my life, it's my death.
Mm-hmm.
Can't I hold it?
That's a very interesting kind of thing. It seems like from the moment we're born,
that
the world has mandated.
I don't own my birth.
Correct.
I don't own my life, and I don't own my death.
Yeah, you are not allowed to choose anything.
And I have to beg to differ. Like, I just disagree.
It's a very interesting thought.
And at the same time, I'm not trying to minimize whatsoever people that are affected by the loss of a person. I'm not trying to minimize that at all, but
Absolutely.
I am not trying to minimize our free will either.
Absolutely. That's a very difficult thing to look at as a hand-in-hand kind of concept because people, we see people in their deathbed, hooked up to tubes and machines, and we yearn to keep them alive, knowing full well that it's not in their best interest. Why do we do that? Why do we cling to something that is outside of us so heavily, on that level? Is it just because we can't cope?
Begs the question of who is actually being selfish.
Right.
I wonder if that was hearable. Ariel said very profoundly, like an arrow just now, it begs the question, who is it that's being selfish?
Yeah. It's a huge question.
Why do I feel like I own someone else's life, time of death, time of birth?
Yeah.
Why is that my possession?
Right.
I just can't get with that.
It's very interesting. And anybody who's popping in, it's interesting to sort of like pop in and listen to that because, we're not sitting here advocating, kill yourself when you feel right about it. It's very much a discussion about, the implications of all of it.
I think it's just worth looking at what does this mean and what do we believe about it? Because what it boils down to is anything that I judge or anything that I have a determination about, I'm making a statement about myself.
Sure.
I'm making a statement about my life. And I'm making a statement about my own relationship with me.
Yeah. So very much what we're discussing is the concept of how we view this, how we intake it, what it means, what it reflects from our own souls. Witnessing something like this, how we respond, how we react is a huge indication of who we are. Rick says, on days like that, when life is overwhelming, love, hope, family, and friends just aren't enough. Yeah. It's a hugely powerful emotion to get to that point, I would imagine.
What better way to say that? No. Sometimes it's not.
No,
Your
it's
biggest
not.
Fear? Realized. Congratulations. There it is.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, maybe love is too much. Maybe it's too much at that time.
Maybe it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not what somebody wants.
We talk about this over and over and over again. how we want to apply the way that we would deal with something to somebody else.
Yeah.
We talk about it week after week after week.
Yeah.
We talked about it last time.
Your goal has to be my goal. Your
Yeah.
want has to be my want, because I enjoy this, because I understand this, because I've experienced this. You should want the same thing. Why don't you?
Right.
We were even talking about it on a much more innocuous level in terms of like people who take selfies and get berated for it. You know, as if you taking a selfie has anything to do with anybody else. You know, I don't want you to do something because I don't like it.
Yeah.
And it extends huge to anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Your behavior
Yeah.
doesn't comfort me.
Ew,
Your
why would-
behavior is
yeah.
not making me comfortable.
Why would you put ketchup on hot dogs?
Yeah.
I've gotten that, and it's funny and silly, but like at the same time, it's still like
Yeah,
it's
that whole
part of it.
pizza pineapple thing that you brought up.
Yeah, it's part of a large scale concept.
It is. Yeah,
It
there's a
extends.
microcosm and a macrocosm and
Yeah.
everything in between
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And this is such a big topic for people that it's not ignorable.
Yeah.
So.
See, Avery says you have to think of situations, think of people with cancer who know they're going to die and don't want to go through a slow process. It's weird to think of other reasons. Yeah, death is a complicated thing. Free will shouldn't be a complicated thing, but there's this stigma that we all sort of enforce to a degree of, I don't like it, why would you? I don't want this, why would you? You know? It has nothing to do with anybody else. It's interesting because I knew some folks a couple of years back. They had been dating for years and years and years. I don't know if they were married, but I think they were engaged. She broke up with him. He killed himself. His response was to die. Powerful response. You know?
It's a hell of a statement.
It is a hell of a statement. Emily says, spot on. Like that, my stepmom just died of cancer. She decided that she is not going through chemo anymore, so she made her decision, and I heard from my dad what he stood behind her. I think it's very important. It takes an awful lot of selflessness to allow somebody to die when they know they want to, when they need to, when they're not feeling. I feel I would have a hard time with that, but at the same time, I would want to understand because...
Well, and we don't sit around and... I mean, I don't look at... Like, if I come over one day and you're having literally every crisis imaginable and every problem imaginable, I am not going to come over and judge your choice to stay alive. I don't come over and call that anything.
Yeah, why haven't you ended it yet? It's interesting to think of it like in a full perspective.
Like we have a directionality at which we've decided it's okay to judge something. And I don't know, I mean, broken record, beating a dead horse, I just disagree.
Yeah.
I just don't like it.
And I want people to know, I know I can't solve anything. I know I can't do it all, but there are people to reach out to. There's always a place to go to, and whether or not people do that is up to them, of course. But I never want people to feel alone. I'm afraid of people feeling alone. You know, I know some simply want to, and that's hard for me because I don't want to feel alone. I don't mind being alone. I just don't want to feel alone. You know?
What?
I like purposeful isolation.
There's a difference. Well, I was going to say there's a difference in loneliness and isolation.
Yeah, because I like to, isolate myself sometimes. I do it very much on purpose. But to feel like you've got nobody else can be a very overwhelming feeling.
So let me ask you something. We talked about this the last time, and we've talked about it several times.
Yeah.
The situation, which we reference often, where you wanted to comfort me when my mother died.
Yes.
So, and when I said no,
you pushed me away. You actually
I think I literally.
Yeah, you put your hand up and said don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you feel in that moment?
I remember feeling kind of like alarmed because that's not how I feel like I would have wanted it, but I also did my best to understand because we'd been through, a lot.
It made you uncomfortable.
Developmentally, but it did, yes.
To
see you react in a way that I wouldn't.
Yes, it made you uncomfortable because you had something that you wanted to exact or apply in that moment that would have soothed what you believed about my loss.
Right.
What you believed about it.
Right.
And it wasn't a shared experience.
No.
My experience completely different.
It's completely exclusive.
Right. And I was uncomfortable with you applying your manner
Correct.
to myself.
Yeah.
So there are so many ways that we are at least moderately, if not fully willing to say, I don't get to decide for you.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways that we allow. Why not suicide? Why not? Why not?
It's a very interesting thing.
I can't understand it. I'm not saying go kill yourself. I'm not saying
that
isn't what I'm saying. That's
So
not what I'm saying. I'm
it
just saying,
seems that
why are people refusing to sit with something their own self?
Mhm.
Why just judge it immediately?
I think a fear that people have is that it's such a permanent concept. Is that it's not like go to the mountains of the Yukon and chill for a year by yourself,
Yeah,
find some perspective.
the
It's very much
MO
like
is permanent solution to a temporary problem.
it's done, right? Yeah, exactly. I think people are most afraid of that, which I understand the fear behind it, but I have to say that I'm sure that most of the judgment comes from the fact that, are you willing to throw everything away for one thing? That's, I think, the perspective often where it comes from is, will this solve the problem? And ultimately, I mean, there's no more problems if you're done. Like, everything's finished. That's fine.
Louis C.K.
Yeah. He has a really interesting bit on this.
When he was talking about, you don't like ISIS? Kill yourself. You won't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
That was his.
Kind
That
of.
was his bit in his stand up in his most recent one.
Yeah, that actually is. It's kind of worth watching. I'll go back to that. But Jonathan came in and said, in the end, the person has that right. They may want to stay to appease your emotions, but think of the recklessness they are causing to themselves by not taking and making validation of their own emotions and actions. So,
Wow.
a really interesting way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Yes.
Can I just hold on? Can I just read that again?
Sure. Yeah.
Think of the recklessness that they are causing to themselves by not taking and making validation of their own emotions. Yes, it's selfish, but to heal, sometimes you need to go about things on your own.
Can't help others or accept help if you can't at least make a conscious effort on your own part. Yeah, because sometimes I think if you're sort of checked out, the idea is that, like Rick said, if you're not ready for somebody else's help, it won't help. Love will not be enough.
I absolutely agree. While I tend to find myself coming to other people in my bad times, I find that isolating myself is oftentimes just as helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some things other people just cannot help with.
That's been my MO lately.
Mm-hmm.
Is just all the space in the world.
Yeah, just pushing everybody else away.
All the space in the world.
Yeah, and not like in a negative way. I think it's in a very empowering, good, healthy way that you choose to do it because you recognize something in that you want purposeful isolation. You want to be in your own sphere with nothing else.
It's deliberate.
Yeah.
It's my intention.
Absolutely.
Dang.
No.
How are you feeling now? As opposed to 15 minutes ago or whatever. No.
I'm still bummed thinking about how many people are feeling sad from this. But I think it's a really interesting, let's see, complicated though. Sometimes you can't come to anyone because you feel like they don't care. Yes, we actually just said this about 10 minutes ago. Welcome to the room, by the way.
Hi.
Absolutely. That is definitely something that I think is not considered oftentimes because, if I'm going to, it's my method is not your method. I'm comfortable reaching out. Some people simply aren't.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people don't.
Yeah, for some people, reaching out is the bigger agony.
Yeah.
Than for others.
Yeah. I mean, it can be embarrassing to admit you have problems. It can be mortifying to be scared of people's judgment. There's a lot of things that go into why somebody would not choose.
We can be attached to our problems. I want pain.
Themselves.
I want to feel this right now.
Yeah, I feel like I deserve this, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or I want to honor this. I don't want to interrupt this or intercept this with anybody else's energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like that all the time about pain that I'm in. Like, any pain that I'm in, I don't want anybody else's hands in it.
Yeah.
Like, let me have it, please.
Yeah.
Let me hold it.
This is mine. Let me deal with it the way I need to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's simply not for you. No.
Interesting.
How are you feeling?
Very at ease and comfortable, really. I felt that way when Chris Cornell died, too.
You had a discussion, very similar to this. Didn't really.
I find myself on topics like this, when we talk about suicide, or anytime I talk about suicide, feeling like I need to front some sort of devastation about the decision. there might be devastation about the loss.
Yeah.
I might feel that.
Yeah.
But devastation about someone's choice, I can't endorse that. It's not mine. It
Yeah.
isn't mine.
Yeah.
So I feel comfortable and at ease when it's propelled by
Mhm.
or further propelled by drugs and alcohol or by a crisis
Mhm.
or accidental suicide or
Mhm.
whatever. I don't know, it's actually kind of a hot topic for me.
Mhm.
But that's just because the hot topic for me, period, in my life is get off one another, stop judging one another. In fact, stop judging yourself while you're at it.
How do you
And this
suggest
is no
people begin?
different.
Yeah. How do you suggest people begin?
Begin.
How do we learn to stop judging ourselves? If we stop judging ourselves, will that lead to the stopping of judgment of others? If we can begin with us.
Well,
Or are they handled in two separate ways? What do you think?
I think for the most part, ideally, yes, we stop judging ourselves and then it cascades to every other area.
Mhm.
I think sometimes we work it backwards though. Like I have to look at someone else and unjudge them. Like,
And then you look at ourselves last?
we're hardest on ourselves.
That's true.
So sometimes to just unjudge ourselves, period, is like, that's a daunting thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to look at someone else and choose to unjudge them is a little bit easier of a place to start,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
It's easier to look outside the self. People don't like to admit that they have flaws, that they have things going on, that there's something wrong, because it takes more responsibility, and that can be a scary thing for a lot of people, to know that you messed up, to know that you've...
Responsibility is a form of freedom. And if I'm free, if I'm liberated, if I conceive myself as a liberated, free being with free will, I'm accepting, enlisting responsibility. I'm
You're
saying
gladly
yes to that.
taking it
I'm
on.
taking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for me. Whoever says their thing. When I learned to be responsible for not just what I did, who I chose to have in my life, the way I chose to handle situations, it really came down to, have you ever had a bad employee? Did he do this, do that, the other thing? Yeah, but it's my responsibility because I chose him. What happened, I've been wanting to actively be responsible for all the things that go wrong that I am a part of.
I had an interesting thing come up today. Are we missing stuff? Should we?
Rick just said, the stigma of mental illness is still there. As for me, it was hard to admit I was troubled, so drugs and alcohol were my way of hiding. It's a very common thing.
Yeah. Case in point, I don't want to look at me.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to look at me.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything looking at me.
No.
I don't want me.
Yeah. I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So, firstly.
Talk loud.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
So back
Talk
to,
loud.
Sorry. So what you were saying earlier when you asked you said you were still really upset, and when you said no, primarily your point was that because a lot of other people were sad and were hurting. Do you think that is because of the person that was lost, or because of it being a suicide? And tangentially, when someone dies of a suicide, do you think that a lot of the negative reaction that comes to that is because there's, I think I see this, that there's a lot of the he killed himself, so or she, they killed themselves, so that this, is their fault, and and there's a lot of backlash that comes from that in a very sort of negative way. So the people that are grieving because they just simply miss that person, because they're celebrity, because they were influenced, because they bettered their life in some way, feel as though some of that grief, because you mentioned David Bowie before, who just had cancer.
Right, he died of natural death.
So people that would grieve that person feel as if some of that grief that they would naturally have is being taken away from them.
Right. That's a fair question.
Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm slow today.
So really,
I loved that last sentence though. That grief is being taken away from them.
Yeah.
Because not because it was a suicide, but because of the way that a lot of people stigmatize suicide that are not connected to the person in general, but they've read an article,
Yes.
and so they'll say something like,
Yes.
"Oh, well, they just killed themselves,"
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
You've interjected this variable into my experience of losing you.
Yeah.
Thanks
And
a lot.
it's not that those people who are actually grieving necessarily care at all that this person killed themselves,
Mhm.
but that they're simply grieving a loss, and someone else is pointing a finger in. And maybe that, because it seems as though that's kind of my assessment of what happens every time a celebrity kills themselves,
Mhm.
is that large fan base that wants to grieve the loss of someone who's deeply affected their life,
Mhm.
and then there's sort of this crowd of people who doesn't give a shit about
Yeah.
this person is like, "Ow, they just killed
They
themselves,"
dampen.
and they
the
try and
experience.
take away from
Yeah.
what should just be normal mourning.
Yeah, like how different would this be? Should he like have died of like a brain tumor or something this morning?
Right.
What would the reaction be?
Because a while back, my
Wow.
your brother-in-law, I guess you could say, died of a drug overdose, and that was very sort of like a tainted thing throughout the funeral that my
Mm.
people that I know,
Mm.
not to name names,
Mm.
often would say, rather than just letting most of us grieve what had happened, is like, well, he just shouldn't have done heroin. It's like, can you not? And,
Yeah.
and sort of like taking away from what should have been,
Right.
and ultimately making you sadder, I think.
Yeah.
You
He should have just not
done
had a
heroin.
personal struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
then so you're already grieving, and then you grieve more, and it causes that cycle of understanding mental illness to sort of spiral downward.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to say.
That's a phenomenal.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that was a
Feedback.
lot there.
That was very
I'm
good.
gonna have
Please.
to,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that
Yeah.
and listen to that. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that later because there's so much profound. I don't know, Ariel. I love your mind.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do with it. I literally didn't sleep last night. I pulled in all. I could not sleep, so I'm slower.
It's almost what you did too.
That's
Then-
also
Actually,
Did
practically what
you?
you did. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Her sister left
Okay.
this morning.
But she's way more articulate than me.
why I look like this.
Byron says, that's how I felt when Robin Williams passed. The amount of negativity being thrown toward his magical, wonderful man broke my heart more than his death did.
Mhm.
It's very hard to see someone that you love gone, in that instead of being remembered fondly by some, it's simply there's blaming and there's accusations and there's negativity and there's
As if you're not allowed to be sad.
yeah. We should have been sad because he did it this way.
Oh,
You know? It's not a fact of Robin Williams, had struggles that he couldn't deal with. It's simply, he should have dealt with them like I did. He should have been
So-
resilient as me.
So what we're doing then is we're stigmatizing pain.
Yes.
We're
No.
stigmatizing the human experience of pain and excruciation and
And then
agony. We're
anyone who's
stigmatizing
also
pain.
experiencing those things.
And if you have
Yeah.
pain and I have decided that you could have done something about it, then I can do this morally separating thing between you and me.
Mhm.
And I think the irony there is that most often when someone will come forward because an artist has helped them through some part of their life,
Mhm.
it's because they've been through a lot of pain. They've had something very difficult happen
Yes.
to them,
Mhm.
and that artist has helped, whether it be an actor
unlock
or
it
a
or
musician or something, they've gotten them
express.
through it. And the people that sit back on these, sort of thrones of judgment, they don't understand that. And so the people who are grieving the loss of someone that's helped them are
Mhm.
grieving because they understand that pain,
Mhm.
or they're still experiencing it, or something like that's happening. So they're in pain. They've lost someone who was in pain that helped them get through pain, and are being told to just sort of shut up and stifle it, and that person should never have been in that way in the first place. And
Right.
they internalize so much more of what's going on.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think it causes the grief to be, they feel guilty
Right.
as if they shouldn't feel grieving. They shouldn't feel the grief in the first place, but they feel it even more deeply.
Confounding variables left and
Absolutely.
right. Confounding variables left and right.
That's my thought.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if maybe that's part of what you're feeling.
I think it might be it's a lot of my upset is a response. Well, yes and no, because when I had first I hadn't actually seen the negative reactions until probably later this evening.
Mhm.
But during the day when I was reading this and seeing people and witnessing a lot of it was simply seeing how much it affected people, the people that were struck by him. And this evening, though, when I started seeing more of those negative comments pop up, because I didn't see a lot personally, but I saw a lot of reactions to them. Once I saw reactions to the negative comments, then I looked a little bit deeper and I saw some of the negative comments themselves. And so that, I mean, that, yeah, absolutely is upsetting as well, too, is to see somebody sort of discount somebody else's pain so readily.
Yeah, we're so quick to praise. I was talking today about, there's a book called Callings by Greg Lavoie that has this quote almost right smack in the middle center of the book that I've had like just rolling around in my head for years, and I probably will never rid myself of it. But what it says is, light is not morally superior to darkness. Up is no more populated with angels than down. And it really speaks to me about just the value and the sacredness of any level of human experience, because I personally believe that to lay in a gutter with a heroin needle in my arm is a valid human experience.
Absolutely.
It is a valid expression of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And it has its pains and it has its pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to look at it and to say something or other about it
Mm-hmm.
is none of my damn business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I had a friend that I went out with just for coffee a couple of years back. Just someone that I had met like online, just a friend of mine, and we were just hanging out. We went and got, just a bite to eat. And as we were driving, I was asking her about just, like she came from Las Vegas and lived here for a while. And I was like, so what was Vegas like? She goes, well, it was troubling because I came from like a very strong drug-fueled background. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I mean, so has that changed? He goes, yeah, I'm completely clean now. And I said, well, I mean, what was it like? And she said, it was great. Drugs felt great. You do them because they feel great. You do it because it's wonderful. You do it because you get something you don't get without doing
They
them.
work.
She said, but, I'm glad to be where I am right now. I'm more in control and I'm, more responsible and I can take accountability for my actions. But
Okay.
the reason she liked it is because it felt good.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
drugs and anything that we choose, it provides instantaneous relief.
Yeah.
It provides relief. It
Mhm.
releases whatever pressure or strain we have
Mhm.
going on. And while that is a nice relief,
Mhm.
it simultaneously does something, which is send a message to ourselves that we are not empowered to do it ourselves.
Mhm.
It does both things at one time.
We rely on something for that feeling.
There is what goes up must come down.
Mhm.
They both happen at the same time.
Right.
And to make a determination that about the behavior or about the choice to do anything
Mhm.
discounts either the up or the down.
Mhm.
Which is you might as well just make any decision on half truth all the time then. Half-ass everything then.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's both. It's
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
It's all of it.
The whole
And
thing.
Ariel, for your family and your cousin that died of heroin overdose,
brother-in-law.
brother-in-law
Yeah.
died of heroin overdose. I mean, I guess I just want to say, like, whatever you felt, whatever anybody felt, whatever he felt, whatever it meant, everybody has their own personal experience of it, and it's not ours to go attaching it like Velcro
Mhm.
to somebody else.
Mhm.
Wear this costume that I like.
Mhm.
It isn't. It's just it ain't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting to think of suicide as sort of like this, just sort of like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, you shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have taken this, and you shouldn't have taken it to that extreme. You should have believed stronger.
Well, because we're not stigmatizing death. We're stigmatizing pain.
The pain that leads to it, the pain that causes it, the pain that begins somewhere, the pain that initiates somehow in life, the pain that is perpetuated, the pain that is potentially solved or temporarily solved, or whatever it is that leads to a spot in which we make the decision. That is not, I think, considered as often by a lot of people when they say he shouldn't have done that, or that was selfish, or screw this dude, how could he, affect everybody else like this? It's so much deeper, and if you could sit down and look through everything, not to say that it's, I want somebody to die, but why did it get to this point? Why did it get to this level? And with almost anything, when it comes to reactions that we as humans give off to something, why did he cheat in the relationship? Why did he hit that guy in the face? Why did this happen or that happen? Because it leads to this result because of something prior, some things, many things. What influences, what people, what situations, what experiences bring us to anywhere that we are. And those are very easy to judge when all you say is he shouldn't have done that last thing.
It's kind of interesting. I got a message from Lindsay. Do you remember Lindsay, my friend Lindsay? You remember Kristen?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I remember Kristen.
Okay. Do you remember Lindsay? It doesn't matter.
We'll talk after. Maybe.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Well, I got a message from her today talking to me about how Kristen just suddenly cut her out of her life. This was a group of friends that we had.
We're very close with. Yeah.
And an incident happened with somebody Kristen was dating. I cut you out of my life.
You did?
For a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I probably crushed you.
Yep.
And I don't remember how long that lasted, but I called you when I needed you.
Yes.
Later.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we reconnected. Which is pretty typical of me. That's not exactly.
Yes.
That's not fair. But I got this message today, and she was saying, "Ow, that hurt so bad." And I was looking at it, going, "That's interesting," because she did the exact same thing to me after I cut John out of my life in defense of her.
Mm-hmm.
How
mm-hmm.
interesting is that?
Mm-hmm.
It was just this cycle of you didn't perform how I wanted you to about a certain situation.
Yeah.
And this was
like a chess piece just done.
Yeah, this was a good
6
years ago.
Probably about 6. It was maybe 5.
It was 2011.
Was 11 or 12? It was around that time.
With Carlos, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep, you're correct.
It was 2011.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was about 6 years ago, and I threw my hissy fit and hurt you because of it. Not too long later, I wasn't performing in a way that made Kristen happy.
Mm-hmm.
I got chunked out,
mm-hmm.
and now this is happening to Lindsay, and it's just, whatever. You don't know these people, and it doesn't matter. But my point is, we judge one another, we expect on one another, we hang our expectations on one another, mm-hmm. and when there isn't a performance that we have deemed appropriate for how you should have handled my expectations, for fuck's sake, then we have this big response as though mm-hmm. you mm-hmm. mishandled yourself.
Yeah. Like if you never knew how to use a hammer, and I handed you a hammer, I was like, "Oh, go ahead and use this." And you're like, "What is this? What do you mean, what is this? Use it." And you didn't use it the way I wanted you to. Maybe you found a different use. Maybe you're using it to for leverage. I don't know. And I get mad at you because it's like, why didn't you do it the way I wanted you to?
Yeah.
Very simple terms.
Right.
Yeah, we put that on each other. We hand somebody something else with the expectation that they're going to do what we want.
And then I get to feel when this person is just upset and judging me and thinks lowly of me, and I'm like, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what this thing is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that I'm going to feel in response to that.
Sure. Couple updates right here. Emily says, like my dad used to be a heavy drinker, then he stopped to take care of my stepmom, and now that we go check on him, he always wants to take a shot with me, and that worries me. She also follows up with, there's this young girl at my work, and she's only 28. I want to slap her because she thinks it's cool to tell us at work that she shoots her up with heroin.
Where are you? I'm not.
Her mom up with heroin.
Okay.
Right down there. Yeah.
Okay, so she shots. Yeah, her mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Byron comes and says as well, someone once told me heroin was the best girlfriend I've ever had, and I think that's the purest expression of drug addiction I've ever heard. It tells you so much about the experience that led to it. And then Jonathan just says, but in that same sentence, Michelle, it sounds like you were goaded and somewhat pressured to make that decision. Mm-hmm. Sure.
I was legit. I felt truly mad at John, absent of Kristen, absent of her experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was upset with John.
Mm-hmm.
And the details of it are pretty irrelevant, but I judged John. I held that. That was mine.
It's an interesting situation.
That was mine.
It's an interesting situation.
That was mine. And I don't know. I didn't know at that point when I decided that I was infuriated with you. I didn't know how Kristen felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she even knew yet what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think I made that determination before
mm-hmm.
things came to light.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
I made that determination about you already. Yeah, I made a big social interpersonal decision that affected a lot of people. because of that.
It's interesting.
I remember.
How do you feel about it now?
Wiser, clearer. Like I can see it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That needed to happen.
Yeah.
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 And I don't fault it in any way. It's necessary.
Yeah, you got to be the reservoir for my learning of something that was not healthy in me.
And when I met back up with you 2 years later, when you asked for help, I didn't hesitate.
No, not
Because
at all.
we have
And
an
I knew you
understanding with
wouldn't.
each
And
other.
I knew you wouldn't.
That's
too.
what's interesting. We have an understanding with each other that like there could never be genuine bad blood on like a permanent level.
Mm-mm.
You know, like maybe it was simply a separation that you needed to clear your head. Maybe I needed that clearance as well too, to think about some things and understand some stuff just as much.
I was exploring loyalty and meaning of social, interpersonal bonding and oaths, and I was
Mhm.
exploring all that stuff. And I'm choosing Team Kristen or whatever I was thinking,
Right,
and that's what I was thinking.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
right.
So that's where that came from for me, and it was this self-righteous judgment
Mhm.
against you.
Mhm.
And then several years later, I was in a dire situation and needed help, and you were the first and only person that crossed my mind. And I was like, John. And I was aware that I had abused our relationship.
Mhm.
I was aware that I had abused our years of knowing one another.
Mhm.
And I felt no, and I didn't feel any shame about it. Because I trust you that much, and I did trust you that much. I did trust you enough to treat you like shit.
Mhm. I wonder if it's interesting because I believe I trusted you enough when you separated that is genuinely what needed to happen. When you decided to cut me out for a year and a half, I guess maybe.
I don't know,
I don't know how long it
a
was.
couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years. That's genuinely the best call because I ultimately trust your judgment as well too.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
And I know that about you.
Mhm.
And I've said that behind your back. Like, John trusts me. John trusts my decisions, and they can be terrible and they can be wonderful.
So you're talking
And
shit.
he is going to and he's going to trust me.
I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's
And
no
vice
doubt.
versa as
No
well.
doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, vice versa as
Easily.
well. I love you so much.
And I love you
Yeah.
like stupid amounts.
Stupid.
We've never not had that at like the very core, and that's why, this is the best friend zone of all time.
Yeah.
It's like seriously.
For sure. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. It's one of my favorite relationships in my life
Yeah.
is this friend zone that we've had
Yeah.
for 20 million years.
Yeah, exactly. Ever since dinosaurs. John,
Ever since the dinosaurs.
you rub off on Rick because he got a baby kitten. Yeah,
You
everybody.
did?
I need
Yay!
pictures. Let's see. I cut out my best friend Connor after a big thing that the details don't matter, but at the time it felt like it was a huge betrayal. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years. The night my abusive ex and I broke up, I called him because I needed him to stop me from doing something stupid, and he was there within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Someone who truly loves you on that
Connor.
level
John.
wouldn't hesitate.
My Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone cuts someone out of their lives at one point or another because of ideas behind the controlled comprehension. I myself am no exception. We've all done it.
Mhm.
We've all done it. And my friend Christy,
She was at the center of that whole thing.
she was it was a very interesting epicenter with her. And she ended up moving away, and I had to cut her off because she was so toxic.
Right.
At one point, I remember I was asking her if she needed help with something, and I said, if you abuse me, I cannot help you. I have to back away.
Right.
And she continued to berate me and scream at me, and I said, okay, we're done. It was
So
hard because she was
amazing.
wanting to roommate at the time, so it became a very complicated situation. But if
Yeah.
she needed help, without
Sure,
hesitation,
in a heartbeat.
yeah,
Interesting, because she was the epicenter of that whole thing, and,
Yeah.
and we all dropped like flies around it.
it was a very interesting scenario.
Ooh,
For what it's worth, it sounds like she's doing much better.
Good.
From what I've heard.
good for her.
Yeah. Let's see.
I off and on do that with family. I've done that with family as
Mhm,
well. Definitely family. Radical ideas and emotions.
Let's see.
Emily,
My
my
therapist told
therapist
me,
told me,
yeah,
you always hurt who you care about the most,
I don't mean to.
and don't mean to. Hi, Kellen.
Says you two just had a legitimate mini therapy session to yourselves while broadcasting, and I heart it.
We heart you.
Yeah, I do. Heart everybody who's in here right now.
We heart.
A lot. Yeah, I'll pull up my heart, kalimasho today, put it on the desk. You can take a bite, like a piece of cake, and it's yours.
Cake.
Cake.
Cake. Cake.
Cake. Cake. Cake. Cake. Oh, giggling inside jokes. People Probably
Yeah.
love those, yeah.
I wonder if anybody who knows what that is. Cake. Cake. Cake.
Cake. Cake.
Who knows what that is? Who knows what that is? I can't wait.
For nobody to know.
For nobody to know.
I forget for the most part, but I don't ever forget it, just who I am. And everybody, I think, handles situations differently. And this is why, I think everybody's got their methods. Everybody's got.
Talent!
He knows? Or is he just talking about, who?
He knows. He knows. Okay, Emily, what happened to dinner?
Also, I think the fact that both you and I were simply doing something in conjunction with each other with some sort of stupid inside joke, the only answer could be Alf.
I know, huh?
Because all we do is gush about how much we love Alf anyway on the show.
I love Alf. So what happened to dinner? I had some stuff going on. I texted Rick and let him know. And I texted John asking, hey, are we doing this tonight? What's going on?
Yeah.
So nothing came of it.
Yeah, sorry.
What happened to it was nothing came of it. And rumor has it you were working, so you actually dropped out as well.
I don't know. We'll figure it all out.
Yeah, we need to do that.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle abandoned John and
but Foxy, she abandoned us. Truest quote I give to most people about myself is ask
Adult Protective Services.
Yeah,
Have
exactly.
me arrested.
Ask all that you would like to know about me, but be prepared for my answer you may definitely not like. That's fair. I think it's inquiring minds.
I like the one that says people don't want the truth. They want confirmation that what they believe is the truth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that one.
Yeah, people are very afraid that an answer might be different than what they want.
It's dangerous.
It is. It's like driving a car into a wall
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
on purpose.
it's exactly like that.
Yeah. But like a wall made out of...
It'll break all your bones and skeletons when you find out you're wrong.
It'll break your skeletons? Like you have like a bunch of skeletons in the back seat with you just riding along and they get shattered?
Yeah.
That's irresponsible. Like,
Irresponsible.
yeah, those skeletons don't belong to you. Those are somebody else's. I'm in charge of my skeleton. Has there ever been a skeletal transplant? Like one bone at a time? Yeah. What if you could be an amalgamation of like 200 different people?
How would you
through various
transplant
bones?
a skull?
That's what I was about to ask.
That's the big one. I don't know. I mean, can you like cut it like in several spots and refragment? I don't know. I'm not a surgeon, but I have skeletons in my car. I broke them all when I smashed into a wall. Let's see. I have apps on speed dial, Michelle.
Yeah. Adult Protective Services on speed dial.
That's right.
No, got a 12. So
I got off at 12, so I didn't drop out.
Oh, got off at 12.
Yeah. That quote makes me miss my truck. They're doing a head transplant, actually. That's terrifying and amazing.
Whoa.
Science is fantastic. By the way.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
So now that our conversation has shifted, I definitely want people to know
amazing.
that also we're here. We love you. We will talk to you. There are a lot of different venues in the event that you ever need something. We very much advocate finding of the proper channels for you to figure out what exactly it is you genuinely want.
I really appreciate what you opened with. Like, I really enjoyed talking about that.
My fear?
Yes. The suicide thing. I
Yeah.
really appreciated talking about that. And yeah, that that was really, I don't know, just really meaningful to me.
I'm glad.
I love you a lot, John.
Trust me.
This is one of those like super sentimental nights. We haven't done that on here in a while.
No.
It's been a while since we did our John and I we're just besties.
It's true.
We're just besties.
It's true.
And I love him to pieces. We could do a whole podcast just like
Just like this, like koalas?
like go.
Yeah. They hold each other.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much. You have no
Appreciate
idea.
you too.
No, you don't know.
I don't know.
No, you don't know.
I'm
No.
too stupid.
Yeah, you're just a stupid girl who doesn't understand anything. Like how much I appreciate and love you. For real though, I mean, like if you think the friend zone is a terrible place to be, you need to go to the friend zone where you have the best friend you could possibly have, and it exists simply to be the best friendship you could ever have. And I feel very fortunate that that's with you.
Me too.
Straight up.
Me too.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
nothing else I could ask for.
To death.
To death.
To death.
Yeah.
However that death happens.
Whatever it means.
Byron,
I love John
you
Moore.
love
fight
John
me.
Moore. Fight. You are antagonistic this evening towards me. What's going on? I wonder.
I'm out, guys. My Wi-Fi is glitchy. I'm training all this week. We'll catch the rest tomorrow. We appreciate your coming out, man. I appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Thanks. And we'll see you hopefully Sunday for Splatoon.
Rick, love you all.
Yeah, love you guys so much. Thank you. Love you, Rick. Love you, Emily, Byron, Kellen, Jonathan. Everybody's here. Let's see. So Kellen actually says, V-Pirate, they attempted one on a monkey. This is the head transplant. They attempted one on a monkey years back, and it screamed in agonizing pain for like 8 days before it died. Good God.
Oh. No.
Abandonment issues. I'm sorry, Michelle.
Oh.
The monkey abandoned his head. I don't
Byron,
know.
I love you. I'm not going anywhere.
That's right. She's right here forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This is where I'll be.
Stuck in this chair.
In this chair the rest of my days.
Excellent. See you later, Jonathan. Have a good night, and thanks for joining. Thanks for all your contributions and input as well. Very important. Very good conversation.
Mo.
Name the cat Mo because he has a toupee.
Oh.
That's cute. Their kitten is named Mo.
Mo.
He looks like he has a little toupee.
Yeah. Isn't that sweet? Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Oh shoot.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, crumbs.
Oh, you're British now.
I am British. I've been doing that quite a bit lately.
It's not fun, isn't it?
It is quite a bit. It is quite a bit of fun.
My favourite thing is I've got a friend who lives out in Manchester. I think he's in Manchester. Anyways, he's Manish. And I had him do an American accent.
I stopped listening a minute ago. I want you to do Mickey.
British Mickey.
In a British accent. Can you please do Mickey in a British accent?
I've got to think about this. How would I do this? Oh.
Come on!
It's already kind of got an accent to it. Let me see.
Hi, Kevin.
You Mickey Mouse. Put this scone in my bottom, Mickey Mouse. Ooh, your teeth are so crooked, Mickey Mouse.
Just all the British stereotypes.
Yeah, that's it.
Just talking about stereotypes.
Ooh, fish and chips in my bum, Mickey Mouse. Go to the car park, Mickey Mouse. Make love to me from behind, Mickey. Ooh. It's the best they got. It's a new level to me. Oh my God. Oh my, yeah, exactly. Things have changed. Don and I actually had a good talk on Tuesday about how much we appreciate each other as friends. All of you guys really some of my closest friends, if not my best friends. It's actually really impressive to me to think that this, as a regular recurring podcast,
it's very unifying
has
and
culminated. Yeah,
it creates a lot of intimacy. I feel that way. I feel that way about. I feel that way as well.
Yeah.
And I don't see Byron. I don't see you that much, and I don't. But that's how I feel.
Yeah, but like their whole family is now like family.
Yeah.
Straight up.
That's how I feel.
Kevin is family. You know, Kellen is family. I've only met Kellen like twice,
I
maybe.
like Kellen's hair in his pictures.
I
think that you have one. Well, did he leave?
Like the podcast?
Yeah.
I think he says "ooh Mickey," so I think he's still here.
Oh. Okay, good. I hadn't seen him in a minute. I like your hair. I really like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
British mini. It's Cockney.
Cockney Brit, yep.
At first place I ever had a real conversation with John.
Yeah, it was actually really, really great to
Kevin,
have.
you failed. Fail.
I look forward to it every week. Helen says thanks. It's okay, Kevin. Everybody's good here. There's like an interesting sort of solidarity and understanding and love like that is unified here. It's very true. Unification.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That happens every single week.
Yeah.
And it's cool because I don't feel disconnected from any of these guys in any way, even though it's just like text coming up here. It's very intimate.
Yes,
it really is. It really is.
It is. It is really intimate.
Yeah. And there's no conversation that we can't have. There's no subject that's too taboo. And we've been able to have some really great intimate conversations. We've been able to have some really great, just fun, silly, lighthearted quips and jabber. And I like it all. And there's a lot of people who I think come in and simply sort of watch and observe. And I want anybody who's here to feel like you are part of this. If you've chosen to stay, you've chosen to listen, if you you don't even want to contribute, or you want to contribute, do those things. You know, sit and enjoy, or tell us. I just get on to see you, Michelle. LOL. Yeah, I cut you from the equation, and Emily's happy.
Don't they? Who said that?
Emily.
Emily.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Wait. So you get on to see me laugh out loud? You want to watch me laugh out loud, or you get on to see me?
And she's laughing out loud.
Yeah, are you
exactly.
laughing out loud? Yeah, because that could mean a couple things.
I feel like I missed a lot. Kevin.
You did, Kevin, actually.
We had a really in-depth conversation about Chester Bennington today, and I would definitely recommend if you get a chance to watch the beginning of this. Some really interesting stuff came up that is sort of beyond just the "we're here to help" kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was a lot deeper in terms of, you know, what does it mean, where does it come from, why does it happen, and, you know, who are we when we see it?
Yeah.
Who are we when we witness and experience it?
I like how you put that. Who am I as I look at this? It says a lot to me that yesterday John and I spent hours sitting in mostly silence with short conversations every few minutes.
I'm very comfortable when I do that. When I'm with somebody that I'm comfortable with, silence is not unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat there and we did just sort of play games for a couple hours, and we quipped and we talked, and it was fun. And it didn't feel stilted or uncomfortable in any way. It was kind of just like, I'm hanging out with my buddy. You know, like he helped paint the door, he helped like do stuff, and you know, we worked for a couple hours, watched some stuff on Netflix, we ate some pizza together, and it was just like, this is a good, comfortable, wonderful situation.
Yeah. Rick, it helps me with seeing things through everybody's perspective.
That's even better, is getting a chance to have people provide input. Yeah.
To watch John and to watch John act funny. Kevin arguing about this all day, the suicide.
I'm sure it's probably a very difficult conversation to have with people that have already decided what they think and what they feel. And the hardest part about having some sort of, you know, like a personal volition about, you know, any sort of situation is that there's not a lot you can do to sway somebody in most cases, other than propose to them questions or ideas that they can witness and internalize and then decide of their own.
Yeah.
You know, because you're not going to berate somebody into believing what you have to say.
Right.
It doesn't really work. Like, because nobody can do it to me, so it's not going to work on somebody else.
Yeah, you can't abuse somebody into behaving.
Yeah. A setting that I have on, I'm actually not sure what settings I have. Let me see if I...
What does that mean?
Let's see. I don't know how to change the setting to put links. It says he can't share links with us.
Oh.
And I actually don't know what kind of setting I might have to change for that. To be totally honest, I'm completely unaware. There's a whole bunch of settings stuff over here. I can turn apps on, control room. Oh, no, we're not doing any of that. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. You guys are too funny. I can't even make sense. We have a good time. I think it's important to have like some... This is how we work. This is the levity of our conversations is tempered by... the seriousness of the conversations is tempered by levity. You know, I think... and that's sort of how we've always functioned. We've talked about what we need to.
We've always been really good at. We can rapidly, you know, be at a levity or be at the depths of meaning, like, and we can do that just instantaneously.
Yeah.
Anything.
Very much.
I mean, our friendship is it's always been so intellectually and spiritually and mentally dynamic in that way.
Liquid. That's everything. Kevin says, I've had family call it the pussy way out. My brother called him a famous ego. It's been a pretty rough day.
Wow.
Kevin, if you get a chance,
go back and watch it.
Watch the beginning hour of this especially and see if that influences. And
then like text me or call me or something because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about that. Ariel said some seriously like awesome,
really great stuff.
Yeah, some stuff about that I hadn't thought of it in that way too. Go back and watch it.
Yeah. I think it was a very, very good first hour, especially. And now that we're sort of, you know, on the path to winding down.
It's already 10:12.
I know.
Dang.
That's right.
That really just like warp speed ahead.
Yeah, it does. A good conversation will do that. Intellectual intercourse.
That's cool.
That's when brains, like, because you know, a brain stem is really a wiener, and the frontal lobe is really the vagine.
Vagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird. Brains are weird. Watching brains copulate is kind of nice.
Do they make baby brains?
Yeah. What?
What? No. We want to hear.
I always want to hear your reactions to this stupid crap that I say.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, is honestly in most cases is saying something dumb and seeing what Ariel does in response. I know you secretly like it. No response. That's usually
Yeah,
like
that's
it.
the best. The blankness is just the best.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, love it.
I feel like you are what you put out there. When I think of Chester, I think of a line from With You. He says, "The sound of your voice is painted on my memory. Even if you're not with me, I'm with you." A lot of really powerful stuff, and it filled me with, sadness and an interesting sort of unification to see so many people mourning this situation. I didn't personally witness a lot of like the direct nastiness of it, but I did see a lot of people on my feed really, unify in terms of their impact.
Yeah.
Let's see. His music means a lot to me, and my life is better because of it. Music is my passion, almost equally to video games, and nobody can change my opinion of this man, and that's great. It makes me feel great. I'm not much of a Linkin Park guy, but I see what he has done, and today it's never been clearer how big an influence he was on countless people, and you can't discount that.
Byron, I'll let you know what I think of that song. That situation with Kesha has been really interesting for me to follow and watch, because as you all know, it's an area of interest and an area of passion for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're gonna eat it up. It's Butter
like the Sia one,
It's along those lines. It's powerful.
Okay. Oh my God.
It is powerful.
Yeah.
We're gonna pop it in the other room and turn it on, and it's.
I'll be ready.
Let's see. His tragic story really is what troubles me is that this will be a blip under the radar towards the issue, i.e. Robin Williams. Mm-hmm. And that's why after Robin Williams and after Chris Cornell and countless others, people in our everyday lives, people in our towns, people in our cities, people in our sphere, it affects so many outside of that, and the conversation needs to get louder every time. The conversation really needs to be more prominent every single time. I bet there are people out here who don't know how he died. The Robin Williams situation, I assume, or are you talking about Bennington still? But either way, it's something that I do fear people could sweep sort of under the rug because they're so afraid to talk about it. People online are of course very vocal, but like, how many opportunities out there are there for people to sort of just say, "Oh, he died. Oh, he passed," and not want to explain to somebody how that could possibly be? Yeah. Like that. Even discussing the idea is taboo. That even mentioning it.
People like Hunter Thompson.
Yeah.
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 Good time to talk about that. I think even at this juncture in society and all this stuff. His life and his.
Ariel's talking about Hunter Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we can. She's being quiet.
You're fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
You're allowed. I love when you contribute. So, as you're comfortable.
Yeah, however you want to.
But for what it's worth, what you contribute to this podcast is nothing but gold.
For sure.
Just so you know.
And now she wants to stop.
Byron says, "If you told me a month ago that Kesha would create one of my favorite songs of all time, I would have convulsed in confusion. I hated the music prior to this, but this new music is amazing."
Oh, okay.
And I think shining some light on the situation and, what kind of person she is, it's a really powerful thing to witness and see. And it sheds a very different light on her for me as well. It's just sort of knowing the story and researching a lot of it and who she actually is, other than, she had a party anthem, but beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's a really very different person, I think.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about that. We've talked about it a lot on here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
like Andrew WK in terms of expectation, but Andrew WK doesn't have like this frustrating story going on. You look at him and go, "Oh, party guy. Oh, wait, huge philosopher." And then with Kesha, I look at her now as not just like party musician, but like, holy crap, talented, fantastic, capable, extremely intelligent, capable woman who's dealing with an extremely difficult situation in a patriarchal situation.
Very polarizing, because the feedback and the responses to that have been verses. Yeah.
Let's see. Kellen says, Robin Williams, it makes news for a small portion of time, that it seems to get swept under the rug until it happens again. And that's true. It sucks that it's so socially loathed that it simply becomes like, we shouldn't.
Kevin, I saw that earlier. I really, really liked it. Mm-hmm. Did you read it?
Let's see.
The 2017 strikes again and blaming the year for what's going on.
I don't think I got a chance to see that yet. No, I'll have to check that out. 2017, nothing to do with it. That's always. It sucks. I mean, when you can chalk up like something to a quantifiable era, I think it's easy for us to sort of lump it all in. And granted, 2016 felt like it had a lot going on, but it was simply just a construct of time that we created. And time does what it does when it does, and there's no limitation to anything.
So that's actually why I brought up Hunter Thompson, because his suicide was a reaction to what was going on around his life. And he had said when he was really young, when he was a younger adult, that he was going to kill himself. He's like, when I die, it will be a suicide. And that was something he had said younger in his life.
He will mandate his own.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so when he ultimately did kill himself, it was a reaction to the fact that he felt he could no longer, the way that politics were happening, the way the world was going. He was like, you know what, enough. And it's interesting to me that I do see a lot of last year and this year, just so much going on that it sort of seems the world is kind of heading in a direction that's very troubling to a lot of people. And not to say that in any way that maybe is justifying anything, or that my opinion leans that way. But I wonder if sometimes when people blame the year, that maybe that is what that could mean, and especially people who sit in positions of celebrity, where there's a lot of pressure put on them to maintain a fan base, to maintain the help to deliver content.
It feels like something large that I can't direct. I can't drive this.
Yeah, and when it seems as if the world has kind of gone out of a place that they can control into in the system like that. And that's ultimately why Hunter Thompson killed himself. And that's why I feel as though maybe we should begin discussing him again, because as we see a lot more celebrity suicides in an environment very similar to that, that situation. If you haven't read his Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail and looked at last year's election and think that he's not rolling in his grave, because it's exactly the same kind of thing. And I have to just sort of look at those parallels at least slightly. I feel as if we need to kind of see, where did we come from, what are we doing now,
right?
And it's not that it's the year's fault, because the year's not a sentient being, but that there are aspects that it's like, okay, we've been here before.
What paradigm shift do we have in 2016? What paradigm shift do we have in 2017?
Well, personifying the trends, the trends that are happening.
Exactly. That's kind of what I meant.
That makes sense. That completely makes sense. That completely makes sense.
Assigning personality and characteristics.
That makes sense.
Yeah, qualifying.
Yeah.
So true, Ariel, spot on. Oh yeah, Emily said hi a little while ago.
Hi.
Yeah.
Where am I?
Let's see. Kevin says it pretty much summarizes my whole take on the situation or the whole issue. That'll tell you and Michelle how I feel since it came in so late. You can read it here if you'd like. It's structured like a podcast submission. And Kellen actually says, bravo, Ariel. I really think this isn't a what a shitty year for losses is a legitimate excuse. This is going to continue. And he got cut off by fate, the limitations from the chat. So we'll follow up with that. Send it to you on Messenger, John. Oh. Okay, we'll check this out before we send out here in just a little bit. Let's take a look. 2017 isn't to blame, society is. We've imbued depression and mental illness with this idea that isn't legitimate. Just because you can't see someone's scars doesn't mean they aren't there. Traditional masculinity is such bullshit. You can't cry if you're a man. You can't show emotion outside of anger and happiness, or you're a bitch. Fuck that. We're human beings. Depression knows no gender. If you're feeling empty, feeling empty enough to take your own life, talk to someone. There's no shame in being open about the way you feel. Feeling emotions doesn't make you a bitch. Shaming other men for it does. Talk to someone. It's important to keep that extension open. I do my best. I know I'm a busy guy, and I can't always answer questions about the store or events, or sometimes just like chit chat. But if there's ever a dire situation, I will always always offer,
Respond.
you know, my words in my ear, even if it's simply just as a presence, you know, somebody to be there. That's important to me. There it is. I breathed. You ever breathed before?
I have been thinking about trying it.
You're gonna give it a shot one of these days?
I'm gonna give it a shot.
Don't get too hooked on it. It's been proven to cause death.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
if you do it enough,
I
you will
won't
die
breathe too
eventually.
much. Yeah, I don't want to breathe too much.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Let's see. Yes, Kevin. Yes. And Kellen says I've seen some shallow posts today. Rick says, "Wow, yeah." I mean, even some time back, I talked about a stigma that I had with Heather, where I was having an emotional issue with her, and I was crying, and she called me a pussy. And I remember that stuck with me. It's you know, it was a very hard to deal with situation for expressing my emotion.
Yeah.
There can be that sort of stigmatized, you know, perception of what a man should do and should be, and my dad actually largely was like that growing up, because there were a lot of times in my life when he didn't show a lot of emotion, and I think it was due in part to the way he was raised. And there have been many times when I tried to have, like, you know, really interpersonal talks with him, and he just didn't really respond in that kind of way, and it was simply just part of what he was taught growing up. It was never part of it. It was never, you know, promoted. He also grew up like in internment camps, you know, in Milwaukee or, you know, somewhere in like the Northwest. So there was a lot of things going on in what you were and were not supposed to do, but a lot of it was also for, like, you know, survival. You know, the reason his name is Chester is because at the time you wanted to be as non-Japanese as possible. You know, all his brothers, Chester, Jerry, Bruce, and David. It's not Japanese names, but that's because they needed to be that in order to be okay with people.
Wow.
Fascinating, huh?
That is really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Byron, I won't drink water. Don't worry.
She doesn't drink water. Stupid. Did the stream cut out? I don't think so. I was once insulted and berated into a panic attack, and she accused me of being childish and trying to get out of the household chores we had to do. Let's see. Yeah. It can be a very powerful thing.
It's going. Try refreshing. Yeah. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it didn't even matter. It's not interesting how, I mean, as the musicians that we're seeing die, like, we're looking at the foreshadowing.
Their lyrics, yeah.
And that just makes me think those things can be applied to any situation. Though those lyrics, honestly.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, what does it actually mean?
Art is subjective, exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my mom, actually, when I was younger, I had bought an album by The Offspring, Smash, back in like 1984. It was one of the first CDs that I owned, maybe third, fourth, I don't know, something really early. And, or even Soundgarden, I bought Super Unknown, and Soundgarden on that album had a song called like Suicide. You know, and my mom was like, you can't listen to that song. Like, it was very much like, you know, don't even like think about that, because if I hear the song, maybe I'll get the idea that, oh, this is, you know.
Yeah.
And there was a song on an Offspring album on Smash that was called Killboy Powerhead, and I think it was like just a cover of some other song, but even that she looked at and was like, you can't listen to this. This is not a song that's acceptable because it had kill. And the idea that I could be so influenced by, you know, somebody else's art, whatever it meant, whatever it was expressing, whatever reason it existed, it was resisted, push away. Don't partake of that, because it will make you that. Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Hybrid theory.
Because of that and many other occurrences like that, I always try to encourage myself and others to be open with emotions, but that's the exact same thing that makes it difficult. You've seen me cry on this podcast a couple of times. There's been a handful of times where I've had a really difficult,
yeah, sure,
you know, moments. It's a tragedy, but this is a young enough band. This event could reach a younger audience. If his death saves one younger person's life, then it didn't, in fact, not matter.
And it didn't, in fact, not matter.
And it did matter. Oh, English. You're a powerful language.
It is. Yeah, English is quite powerful. It's like winding roads.
Like Dusty Rhodes, the wrestler.
Yeah, it's like Dusty Rhodes, the wrestler. English
Yeah.
is like the English language is like Dusty Rhodes.
Byron was showing me a video the other day of this guy that challenged Muhammad Ali to a boxing match, which I guess inspired Rocky. But then he showed me a match of him challenging Andre the Giant, and that was powerful. It was a really strong message. Is that Andre the Giant will crush you. This is this little dude that got crushed by Andre the Giant.
Crushed by a giant.
He just was punching Andre the Giant like 100 times and it did nothing. It did not phase him. It's like flies landing on a bull. Nothing happened. There was no impact. It was incredible. Chuck Wepner. Yep, that's the guy.
So when I said earlier that I didn't sleep last night, that's literal.
You literally did not sleep.
I haven't slept since yesterday morning, so I'm feeling really it just hit me where I got dizzy.
Okay.
Like
Well,
that
then
tired.
we're going to get rid of the call it. I want to thank everybody who came in tonight and talked and contributed and even just listened and, came to understand what this podcast is about. And the prime purpose, more than just to say, hey, if you have a problem, here's what we think should happen. More importantly is to look at all sides of something to understand the whole of it. Not that we can get resolved, not that we can, contribute to success, but that we can help look at something from every single angle possible to try to understand all accounts of how everything works. Because I've noticed that in my life when it comes to video games or movies or music or most things, people, is the only thing that makes me not like something is not truly understanding it.
Yeah.
Almost always, Like, if I could simply understand somebody else's perspective even for a moment, something else's, existence for a moment.
People fear what they don't understand.
It would make me, it's a lot more comfortable for anything to really look at something and say, this is why. And if you truly understand why, it's almost impossible to hate.
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much for everything. We'll be back again next week unless Michelle gets eaten by a tiger, but I don't have any tigers.
The likelihood is really high.
It is. Actually, there's a bunch of tigers outside. They're not mine. They belong to my neighbors. And she has to walk past them to get home. So, okay.
So wish me Godspeed.
Godspeed, Michelle. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
I'm uprooting you. So, you're on your own now.
Good night. Take care.
Yeah, good night, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We love you.
We love you so much, all of you.
Yeah.
And Byron John, see you tomorrow afternoon? That's right. That's right. Also, what do you think of our purple door?
I loved it. I loved that you left your doors in the dumpster in a way that nothing else could fit in there. I thought that was so freaking funny. I went to take my trash out and John's doors he had put them in the dumpster almost as though he didn't want it was his dumpster, my dumpster.
That was my rebuttal to that thing being only open twice a week.
I'm so tired.
All right, we're gonna take off.
We love you.
Have a good night, guys. Love
Good
you.
night,
We'll talk to you
everybody.
soon.